There can only be one. Most movie fans are probably familiar with this motto. Like the franchise itself, the quote from the Highlander movies has become part of modern pop culture, even though the film series has been dormant for a long time. Rumors of a reboot of the fantasy classic have been circulating for over a decade, but now the project is finally gaining momentum. In our new original episode, we give you an overview of what to expect in the upcoming Highlander reboot. The first movie from 1986 was about Connor MacLeod, a Scottish warrior from the 16th century. After a battle in the Highlands, he realizes that he cannot die. He is later trained by his mentor Ramirez in the high art of sword fighting and introduced to the secrets of immortality. The movie finally culminates in an epic duel with his nemesis Kurgan in New York in the 1980s. The movie turned out to be a surprising success at the time, was backed by a soundtrack by the band Queen, and made lead actor Christopher Lambert a star overnight. The story was a crazy mix of action, fantasy, and science fiction, and spanned several centuries. 3 more movies, a TV movie, and an anime followed until 2007. The second part, in particular, is considered particularly unusual. It is set in the future, revolves around an environmental conspiracy, and depending on the cut, also involves aliens. The other installments, though, keep quiet about these ideas. In addition to the movies, there were also various series, of which the one centered around Adrian Paul as Duncan MacLeod was extremely popular in the 90s. The franchise was also expanded further in numerous books, comics, and video games. All Highlander stories are based on one principle. Throughout human history, there have always been immortals who sooner or later have to face their fated fellows in a deadly duel. The victor gains the powers and memories of the defeated. This continues until at some point there is only one remaining who receives the so-called prize, a kind of divine power. Although the plot of the new Highlander movie will draw on individual aspects of the previous works, it will still have its own unique approach. According to those responsible, it will be a story that functions a bit like a prequel and picks up on various elements of the TV series and movies. It is therefore not a remake of the original film. At the same time, the reboot should ideally provide the foundation for further films and thus revitalize the franchise. These plans are also reflected in the announcement that the movie is merely meant to prepare for the final meeting of the last immortals. It is thus quite possible that the upcoming Highlander movies will establish different protagonists. We'll meet sooner or later in a final movie. True to the motto, there can only be one. The character's immortality offers special potential for the story. In theory, there are no limits to when and where the action takes place. As with the predecessors, we can expect episodes from the Middle Ages to modern times, but earlier eras or even the future are not ruled out either. The series in particular also played with the idea that the immortals were repeatedly caught up in real historical events, which is surely also an interesting possibility for the reboot. On an emotional level, the immortality of the characters also brings with it some interesting aspects. What effect does it have on them having to outlive their mortal lovers and friends again and again and always being left behind on their own when they carry the experiences of many centuries with them? And how can they trust each other when it comes to the ultimate battle? Exciting questions that offer every new Highlander story at least the chance to be more than just an action spectacle. When it comes to potential locations, anything is possible. After all, the chosen fighters come from all over the world and could therefore meet anywhere. The clash of different cultures and combat styles has always been part of the series' fascination and could once again provide for some interesting action scenes. We strongly assume that at least the Scottish Highlands will also play a role in the reboot of the franchise. It will certainly be interesting to see how the mythology of the Highlander universe will be handled. Questions about the origin of the immortals and the meaning and purpose of their eternal struggle have been addressed time and again over the years and answered differently in the various works. To this day, fans argue about which facts are canon and which are not. Although the new film is supposed to pick up on known elements, it is not known exactly what these will be. It is also doubtful that the first movie will answer all the questions. After all, if it is successful, there will be more to come. Out of nowhere, the casting of the main role in particular made big headlines for the new Highlander movie. The announcement that superstar Henry Cavill would be following in the footsteps of Christopher Lambert caused a veritable buzz among fans. Cavill is considered one of Hollywood's most beloved actors and has proven more than once that he can also master physically demanding roles. Appearances as Man of Steel or as Geralt in the Witcher series speak for themselves. The latter was probably the decisive reason why he was able to secure the role of the Highlander, since he has plenty of experience wielding a sword. Sadly, nothing is known about the rest of the film's cast as of yet. Rumors suggest, though, that Michael Fassbender could take on the role of the villain. His character is said to be the so-called Mongol, who first appeared in the comic series Highlander Origins: The Kurgan. This would be interesting in two respects. Firstly, the German-Irish Fassbender is not quite a typical inhabitant of Mongolia. Secondly, the Mongol in the comics was killed by the classic Highlander villain Kurgan back in the 16th century. If he does indeed play the villain in the new film, then the previous canon will either be ignored or the reboot will be limited to a storyline that takes place exclusively in the past. Even if we can only speculate about possible storylines so far, we strongly assume that there will once again be a mentor of sorts for the main character, who will introduce him to the ways of the immortals. In the original, this part was played by Sean Connery, who, as a Scot, was ironically supposed to portray a Spaniard. We are excited to discover which actor will take on the mentor's role in the reboot. Given the immortality aspect, it wouldn't even have to be an actor older than 40-year-old Henry Cavill. However, it should be mentioned here that an appearance by the first Highlander actor, Christopher Lambert, is of course not entirely unlikely, be it as a guest appearance or actually in a larger role. His last appearance in the franchise was in the 2000 film Highlander Endgame, where he met series lead actor Adrian Paul. We could well imagine him in a minor role in the new movie. One good reason to be upbeat about the Highlander reboot is the director's choice. None other than Chad Stahelski will be in charge of the entire project, who already caused plenty of hype in the action genre with his John Wick movies. According to Stahelski, Highlander will also be a kind of John Wick with swords, meaning that you can expect perfect and stylish action. As a huge video game fan, he is also sure to get on well with the nerdy Henry Cavill. The director is likewise planning a movie adaptation of the hit game Ghost of Tsushima. The screenplay for Highlander is being written by Ryan J. Condal, who was able to gain experience in both the fantasy and action genres thanks to House of the Dragon and Rampage. The project is being produced by Lionsgate, Stahelski's long-standing partner on the John Wick movies and well known for somewhat tougher movies. We are looking forward to seeing how tough the new project will be. After all, swords are not toys, and most of the franchise's fans are probably no longer teenagers anyway. A targeted R rating like that of John Wick 4 is thus not that unlikely, but it's also possible that they want to win over a new audience first. Obviously, there's the question of when Highlander will be released in theaters. Initial information suggests that the blockbuster, which has a budget of $100 million, could go into production as early as this year, meaning that a release in 2025 seems quite possible. However, an official release date has not been set yet. So how do you feel about it? Are you fans of the Highlander universe? And are you positive about the reboot? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And be sure to like this video if you enjoyed our little preview.